This week in NASCAR feels completely unlike anything we've seen in a long time. It's not the typical drama, it's not another heated setup argument, and it's definitely not ending with one of those heart-pounding last-lap photo finishes that we all love. No, this is one of those rare weeks where you find yourself leaning back, shaking your head, and simply saying, wow, this actually changes everything. Right now, two entirely separate situations are unfolding at the same time, and both of them are striking the sport with real force and real consequences. One story revolves around a talented driver who desperately wants to get back behind the wheel but simply cannot do it, no matter how hard he tries. The other is a much tougher situation where NASCAR itself had to step in and draw a very firm line in the sand. But here's what makes it even more significant. Both of these stories are going to leave a major mark on the entire season. They'll affect the championship standings, create new opportunities for other drivers, and even shift the way we view certain competitors moving forward. So if you're someone who truly cares about what's happening behind the scenes in NASCAR right now, you need to hear every detail of this. And hey, real quick, this is my channel, Fast Lane News. If you're enjoying the video so far, please do me a huge favor and hit that like button, drop a comment, and share it with your fellow NASCAR friends. Your support really means the world to us and helps the channel keep growing. Now let's dive into the first story. And honestly, this one just hurts to talk about as a longtime fan. We're talking about Alex Bowman. What began as a relatively small concern has now developed into something far more serious than anyone expected. He's not just missing one race or even two. He's now officially confirmed to miss 3 additional NASCAR Cup Series races: Darlington, Martinsville, and Bristol. Let that really sink in for a moment. When you combine those upcoming races with the ones he has already missed, we're looking at a driver who could potentially be sidelined for at least 6 full weeks. 6 weeks. And here's the part that makes this situation especially scary. This isn't the result of a hard crash. It's not a broken bone or a typical injury from contact on the track. It's vertigo. At first glance, vertigo might not sound like the most dramatic issue, but if you've ever dealt with it personally or even read deeply about it, you understand just how debilitating and serious it can be. We're talking about intense dizziness, disorientation, and a complete loss of balance. There is simply no safe way for anyone to drive a Cup Series car at full racing speed when experiencing those symptoms. Zero chance. It would be incredibly dangerous. This is exactly why things have taken such a cautious turn. Hendrick Motorsports has made one thing crystal clear: they are not rushing Alex Bowman back into the car under any circumstances, and that single statement tells you everything you need to know about the gravity of the situation. This is no longer about trying to salvage a season. This is about protecting the driver himself. Because in this unforgiving sport, anything less than 100% readiness can lead to serious, even life-altering consequences. With the Easter off weekend arriving right after Martinsville, the earliest realistic return date for Bowman would be the race at Kansas on April 19th. But even that date is far from guaranteed. So in the best-case scenario, he's looking at being out of the car for well over a month. In reality, it could stretch even longer depending on how his recovery progresses. Now let's talk about the real impact, because this is where it truly hits hard. Currently, Alex Bowman sits 36th in the Cup Series standings, already trailing 94 points behind the playoff cut line. I'll be completely straight with you. His chances of making the playoffs this year are extremely slim at this point. But here's the important catch: that playoff picture isn't even the main priority anymore. Not for Hendrick Motorsports, not for his team, and honestly not for the fans who truly understand what's at stake. This is about his health, plain and simple. We've seen far too many times what happens when drivers try to push through injuries or conditions they shouldn't. In Bowman's case, vertigo is one of those issues where even the slightest trace remaining could make getting back in the car an unacceptable risk. As frustrating as this entire situation is, especially for a driver in the iconic number 48 car, a team with such high championship expectations, you'd still much rather see him sit out and fully recover than watch him rush back and potentially make things far worse. But let's be real about it. His absence creates a massive gap in the lineup. It shakes up the entire organization and leaves you genuinely feeling for the driver, because you know deep down he wants nothing more than to be out there racing every single weekend. But just when you think you've processed one heavy story, things take a completely different and unexpected turn with the second situation. This one caught a lot of people off guard, and for very different reasons. This time, it's not about health or recovery at all. It's about consequences and accountability. Daniel Dye has been indefinitely suspended by NASCAR. Yes, you heard that correctly, indefinitely. This stems from comments he made during a live stream while he was opening trading cards. In that stream, he shared his experience being around IndyCar driver David Malukas and used language that NASCAR determined crossed a clear line according to their rulebook. Specifically under Section 4.3c, that particular rule explicitly states that drivers are not allowed to make public comments that disrespect or target someone based on race, gender, religion, or any similar protected factors. NASCAR reviewed the situation thoroughly, and their decision was swift: an immediate indefinite suspension with no set timeline for his return. The only path back into the sport requires him to complete sensitivity training before he can even be considered for reinstatement. And it didn't end with NASCAR's ruling. His own team, CW Racing, also moved quickly to suspend him the moment they became aware of what happened. So this wasn't just NASCAR sending a message, his team stood firmly behind the decision as well. In an instant, he was out. From a competitive standpoint, this immediately affects the Truck Series race at Darlington. The team is bringing in AJ Allmendinger as the replacement driver, and that's a significant name stepping into the seat. Allmendinger currently competes full-time in the Cup Series with Colleague Racing. While he hasn't run in the Truck Series since 2021 at Watkins Glen, he brings valuable experience with 14 career starts in the series. Having a seasoned veteran like him jump into that ride could seriously shake up the field and change the dynamics of the race. As for Daniel Dye himself, he did post an apology on social media shortly after. He admitted that he spoke without thinking, stated that he never intended to cause any harm, and acknowledged an important truth: intention does not erase the impact of someone's words. Of course, fans are going to have very mixed opinions about the apology and the situation as a whole. But regardless of how anyone feels personally, NASCAR has drawn a very firm line and made its position on this type of conduct unmistakably clear. Looking at his season so far, Daniel Dye currently sits 13th in the Truck Series standings, already 88 points behind the leader, Chandler Smith. Since 2023, he has made 49 career starts in the series, earning 2 top 5 finishes, 10 top 10 finishes, and 1 pole position. He's also been gaining valuable experience in the ARCA Menards Series, with plans for a full-time move there in 2025 alongside Colleague Racing, plus additional starts this season with AM Racing. In other words, this is a young driver still in the process of building his career, and now everything has suddenly been placed on pause. And that's the real weight of this story. Unlike the first situation, which centers on recovery and eventually coming back stronger, this one is entirely about accountability and the consequences of our words and actions. It's a reminder of how, especially in today's world where everything is live, recorded, and instantly shared, a single moment of poor judgment can completely alter the trajectory of someone's career. So there you have it, 2 very different stories, 2 completely different reasons, yet both of them are shaking NASCAR in a profound way this week. One deeply affects a major Cup Series team and a driver who is simply fighting to regain his health. The other sends a strong, unmistakable message throughout the entire garage about professionalism, responsibility, and the standards expected from drivers in the modern era. As fans, we're now left watching closely to see how both situations unfold in the coming weeks and months. Will Alex Bowman return at full strength and reclaim his spot? Will Daniel Dye complete the required steps and earn his way back into competition? Those are the big questions that will linger over NASCAR for some time. And honestly, moments like these are exactly what make this sport so incredibly intense and compelling. It's never just about the racing that happens on the track. It's also about the human stories, the challenges, and the tough decisions happening behind the scenes. Now I want to hear from you. What are your honest thoughts about these 2 very different situations? Do you agree with how NASCAR and the teams have handled them? Make sure to share your opinions in the comments section below. I know this topic is going to spark some strong and passionate discussions, and I'm looking forward to reading them.